Hello everybody and a warm welcome back to New Age F1. My name is Zabi and we are live with another round, and it is here for the Italian Grand Prix. We missed out on a stream and commentary last week, but it isn't the case this week as we are now live, finally action on track as well after a couple of minutes of a delay, which was pretty much because of the servers and a couple of server issues. But now it's time, and we are ready to go here at Monza. 80 minutes of short qualifying, then that's going to be 27 laps of racing. Who is it going to be the driver to beat tonight? Will Tyrone continue his dominance, or is it going to be Ryan, or even someone like Special Ian, or even Midu could be in the mix as well? It could be anybody's game right here at Monza. Who is it going to be the driver to beat? We're about to find out. Obviously, no cars are yet out on the track. We're going to just get these placements right, doing multiple games, multiple different screens. Those logos need adjustment, but not this time. Do we have anybody out on the track? And the game definitely looks amazing right here. I had F1 25 on PC for a test and stuff as well. Basically, I have a low hertz monitor, and that game was looking absolutely rapid. It was feeling like it's so fast. But eventually now it looks a little bit normal because we're back on the PlayStation game, so it technically feels a little bit better, even though it's slow, and on a PC it was fast. But now, once again, all of this while we have Killer out on track, the very first driver ahead of anyone out here on the circuit. That is them on a set of soft tires. We need to get the detail of tires. Obviously, pretty much everybody is going to be on that soft tire, but sometimes, just sometimes, drivers decide to go out on a different tire, on a simple different set of a compound, which not for really a lap, but then simply just a simple, let's say, a practice lap. You know, if you haven't had much of a practice, actually here I believe we've been induced a proper free practice day before basically race day on a Sunday, so that's an interesting one as well, while we already are now out on the track and many drivers are beginning with their laps. First of them is going to be Killer in the Alpine, while a couple of others are going to be behind, and that is Edward in that Aston Martin to get started. While we have Killer on the track now out in that Alpine. First couple of corners, he's making his way through the end of that first sector and going to now make his way to the Degna's first Degna, and the second one before the second DRS zone around here. That is quite fast, and definitely the place on the track where definitely helps you get a bit of extra speed and everything like that as well. So it's all about where you can get through. Fourth, and on the exit of another chicane, that is 7th, 6th and 7th corner they're going to get to. While we're on this one, as now they've got the famous final parabolica to go before the end of their lap. How good or fast this one is going to be, we're about to find out. Have they made their way through nicely about Asghari chicane? 125.8, 1.018, and that's not going to be good enough at all. That's beat up by Edward already at the start of it. Meanwhile, at the very back, there's a Ferrari of Devon right there over the line, but he is not on a valid lap right there. He's going to get out of the way of a couple of drivers, and it is Special, and that's going to be Oliver up over the line, 119.409. A brilliant lap from him as well. Then the Williams of Bruno in P3, 121.992. So it's about the competitiveness, it's about the driving of them, and that is Michael, who is not yet going to go over the line at all. Ryan will currently Tyron's in the pits, while Raichu out in the pits as well. It is Midu who is currently not out on a flying lap, rather a out lap at the moment. Meanwhile, the Sauber of Connibel's going to be there, and they've invalidated their lap as well, so those invalidations are not finding it easy. What about DJ? They are before the Parabolica, but that's not going to be easy as well on the exit of Ascari. They've invalidated on the exit of there. I'd assume that's going to be on the exit of Ascari because that's the section where it's quite easy to invalid for sure. And look at that, D's for Ferrari, now making their way around the final corner. How good is that going to be? Is this lap a final good one? Not yet, maybe. A decent one though, 120.396, but 119.409. Fastest of anybody in the session so far, although only 5 drivers have at a time, but nobody in the 119s. And brilliantly beaten, brilliantly at the top of everybody ahead in P1 so far. Meanwhile, there is, that's close between the two Ferraris. D's nearly has to get out of the way, almost. Devon goes into the back of D's there. That could have been risky. Meanwhile, Midu, who started his lap, flying lap, couple of on the previous lap, obviously last time out, but it won't be the case this time, as they're going to have to come into the pit. So a lot of people invalidating. It surely isn't easy, especially around Monza on the exit of that Ascari section, where even in let's say WR I did a couple of months ago, people were invalidating. So obviously no comparison, those are almost F1 esports type leagues, but still some sort of a comparison we could do that. At least they're driving the same cars, same limits, so it's not really going to be easy at all. You know, who are we going to find? Who are we able to have a look at that's going to be improving or on a better lap? Devon 123.647, second slowest time of the session so far, while Ryan 125.0 possibly would be going again there as well. Anybody else on a flying faster lap that could see us? There's a lot of drivers out there, but nobody yet on a fast flying lap that we could have a look at or see. Is it going to be Ian? Yes, it's going to be Ian. They've got on the exit of the Ascari section, and they've not invalidated, so that's at least a good news for them, while their teammate is on pole position so far. Is it going to be Ian who's able to compare, who's able to get closer to their teammate? Yes, they are able to get closer to their teammate. 120.259, still not the fastest of them at all. What about Connibel? Are they going to go over the line? Yes, they will. 121.664, that is P6 for Connibel in the Sauber. What about Monirato? I think they're making their debut tonight, and it is them over the line up to P6 there, and that is a brilliant lap from them as well, up to P6. I think I might have to watch those well, it takes alright, somebody takes a week off, and that is alright, okay. He doesn't take a week off. He takes a week off from iRacing basically to join us, and they are right there in that Haas after taking a break from another game onto F1 25, and here to have some fun at Haas, and that's going to be Michael over the line in that McLaren, goes up to pole position and fastest of them all. And this is when Tyrone hasn't even put a time on the board, ladies and gentlemen. 12 drivers now with a valid lap time, be it faster, slower, or competitive or not. There still is a registered time for the 12 drivers. And only 2 of them are eventually in that 119 marks, and Michael in the very low 119.139, so that could get exciting within a couple of more laps moving forward in this qualifying session, as the Haas driver along with the Sauber now going to come into the pits. Who we've got? The driver that's not going to come into the pits, but definitely Days is in fact not going to come into the pits. You would have thought he will, but he certainly will not. That is quite interesting to see right there. Well, Brando has invalidated their lap. Michael should be coming into the pits, and the Alpine of DJ there currently on a outlap. What about Midu in that Red Bull? Has he got a time on the board? How fast and how good could they go around here? This time quite smooth, and ooh, that was quite close up to the track limits, but not using all of that track. So I'm not sure if they invalidated on the other part of the circuit earlier, or it was the reason for sure around there, and that could potentially be the reason they did not take all of that around the Ascari there, and to just let the car possibly lose a bit of time this time, but about 8 minutes still remaining, so they're going to take it and take that in a little bit while once again. While it is Midu in P3, that was quite close maybe for Midu to a bit of a moment, but I think that doesn't matter as they go up to P3, 120.258, nearly over a second slower than the fastest time of the session so far. What about D's? It looks like they're going slow. Yes, they are going slow, and that only means one thing, that they were not improving. And interestingly, D's does not want to come into the pits, and I'm not sure what exactly would potentially be their reason for that. They've done over 4 laps on those soft compound tires, and they slowed down just on the exit of the final corner. All right, now I know why they would have potentially slowed down, to simply give their teammate a tow there. And well, oh, that is interesting. So they're playing these tactics to give them their teammates a tow right there to help Devin get better, to help Devin get faster. Has Devin gotten faster though, as he's nearly ended his qualifying session there, trying to give his teammate a tow, as Devin now gains over 1.7 seconds right there. But I think more than the main straight is important for a tow. Oh, Devin goes wide, and Devin runs wide onto the gravel. He's going to try and come back on the circuit, and definitely the lap that was some sort of an improvement that could have been there might have been ruined now. On the exit of the second Degna there, they've lost it, and they will lose out. Oh, sorry, that's not Degna, that's Lesmo. Apologies on that. I think that I was calling it wrong, so it's not Degna, but that is the Lesmos, the two Lesmos, while it was one Lesmo and the other. And on the exit of that second Lesmo, he loses the car out, and is going to have to watch out for 120.256, and with that huge oversteer running wide, still moves over up to P4, 120.256. So the Ferraris working together, and definitely that extra speed, extra slipstream and tow for Devin right there has worked out as he moves up over to P4 and ahead of Midu in Andes in that grid order right there. Well, 5.5 minutes still remain, and Tyrone is still not out on the track unless he wants to do a last reverse challenge once again. Remember, I believe he's not using the racing line and traction control no more, which were pretty much the assist he was using earlier, which technically the assist only make you faster once you turn them off, but it all depends on how good of a driver you are trying to adopt to the conditions of driving without assist at all. Meanwhile, drivers now with about 4 minutes and a couple of seconds remaining, definitely more than 4.5, should be getting started in this session. Possibly could be getting to the end of this now, and Tyron's retired, so that makes sense that they have potentially just about a let's say last to first challenge. Pretty much that's pretty much what one could assume for right there, because that's pretty much the case, and seems to be the case right there. They are looking for, meanwhile, Devin going out again, not coming into the pits, which is interesting, which possibly would have thought they're going to come in to get themselves a better idea, but it wasn't to be this time. What about a couple of other drivers? There's a ripple of Mead, who should be out on the track, but he is on an out lap. What about the LP? They're on an out lap as well. Now, a couple of drivers now on their laps. Ian wasn't. And up to the line, goes up to P3 and onto the second row of the grid. 119.865. So at least so far, the two RBs are quite competitive, and that is interesting. And surely something which we might have on our sleeve could be a RB competitiveness. It might be the Racing Bulls rather than, the Red Bull to the top. So it's more like, as we call them here, sugar-free Red Bull. Isn't that the case? So maybe it's better without sugar rather than with sugar as it stands. As about 3 minutes now remain in the session. The Haas driver once again out of the track, but about to start their flying lap. While Devon is back on the track. He was never in the pit, so he's already still staying on that track, going again for a flying lap here into turn 1, making their way through now on the exit as Curva Grande they go. It's all about time. It's all about managing and maintaining what they're about to get. Not yet so far, as we'll find out whether they improve. No, they will not be improving at all, as they invalidated their laps right there. Is Ian going to be getting better? Ian will not, but their teammate Oliver will. 118.967. So definitely we weren't wrong about that, as these RB drivers are absolutely competitive and have done an excellent job right there. As Mead has just bumped up and gotten ahead of Ian there, but definitely I think Ian's going to be catching up with the pace of their teammate right there. I think they're doing an excellent job so far. Violet's all about what they're going to be getting through, or are they trying to get on? It is all about now the remaining moments, as Devon's now retired out of the session. I wonder if they retired on the track or they went into the pits there. The Alpine of Killer there coming around the final corner, not on a faster flying lap. They'll be going this time now, while their own teammate currently in P4, DJ, has put up an excellent lap there. 120.054, a P4 finish. In the P5 that's going to be here in this qualifying in that Alpine. Obviously equal performance, but Alpine is pretty much, in terms of DJ's case, he's done an excellent job right there. Well, Michael is going to be going again and beginning their flying lap just about now. Who do we have? Dees gets out of the way, so that explains they weren't getting a better lap right there, and possibly should be and would eventually be going out there now, which they wouldn't have done so earlier, rather would have slowed down. What about Ian? They're looking for an improvement. Oliver should be heading into the pits, or maybe not. Over the Curva Grande they go at the end of this first sector. They should not be improving, and they are not. What about Michael there? This could get exciting. That was nicely avoided, as Oliver just gets out of the way. 10 seconds now remaining. If you go over the line, you will be getting that lap. Otherwise, you will not. And that's going to be Monerato over the finish line. 121.521, unless they want to go again. No, they will not. So qualifying is over for them. Many of those drivers have taken the checkered flag. Freddie has not, but they should be doing that now as well. Qualifying over for Freddie. How is that? What's the case going to be for Ian in that RB? Hasn't found the improvement, at least at the end of that middle sector, and they will not be going over the line, and that explains they are not improving. What about Michael there? Can they beat Oliver's time to pole? Yes, they can. 118.7782, and Switch goes up to pole and pushes Ollie down. That's going to be Michael, who takes pole position ahead of Oliver, ahead of Midu, ahead of Ian, ahead of DJ and Edward, along with Devon, Dees, Freddie and Killer in the top 10. Unless somebody could match him up, though. Is it going to be X? No, the X will not be there. And that's going to be the end of qualifying, ladies and gentlemen. or maybe not now, as Connable along with Dees has not taken the checkered flag. Dees will go over the line. Are they going to find a little bit of time? Yes, they will, and that's going to be more than a little bit. Go up to the second row and up to P3, 119.529. That is a nice lap as well, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be the end of the qualifying session here at the Italian Grand Prix. And the man you're watching on board, Michael, has taken the checkered flag as the fastest driver of the session and takes pole position here at Monza and does the job for the McLaren team, while their own teammate is down without a time on the board, and I believe they might have a collie ban would be the reason they are not out on the track setting up a lap time, and that is a brilliant end to it then. So as it looks, it's Michael on pole with Oliver in P2, followed by DJ Midu and Ian completing out to the top 5. With DJ in fact in P6 with Midu and Ian complete the top 5. So with DJ, Edward, Devin, Freddie, Killa and Monerato in the top 10. The drivers outside, Conabel, Bruno, Ryan with a lap, then Tyrone, X, Brendo and Raichu have not put a time on the board. Could not set up a lap time, and they pretty much weren't there to set up a lap time at all, and will be starting in their respective bottom positions on the grid. Oh, this could now get exciting right there, as it looks quite overcast. Might be raining, if not now. It could get started throughout the race. It could potentially and possibly begin through the race, and it could be a crossover period of the rain as well. But even if that's the case, it is going to be the movement of rain, and that could make things interesting. That could make things around the circuit and possibly make and give us an interesting choice right there. Brilliant lap from a couple of drivers that there, and I think it'll be interesting to see those who started at the bottom, Brando, along with those, as the formation lap now starts with Michael on pole and Ollie in P2. That might be his best start of the season right there, P2. And look at that. And as far as strategies are concerned, for the 27 laps of the Italian Grand Prix, only one single driver, and that is Midu on the soft compound tyre. And the only reason he could go for a soft tyre would either be a safety car expectation within a couple of laps at the start of the race, or even can be a possible rain threat coming up ahead, which we don't know about, but because the black clouds are all around the circuit and they could fall any moment, which we maybe don't know about. Well, Michael on pole ahead of Ollie on P2, with D's in P3 on a set of medium tyres, apart from Midu on the soft, and it is Ian on the medium tyres as well. So top 5, 3 mediums, 1 soft tyre. Then again in the P6 and 7, P6, 7 and 8 positions, 3 hot tyre runners, DJ, Edward and Devon. Then comes Freddie and Killa on that medium tyre. Then again it's Monerato on the hard, with Conabel sandwiched between the 2 hot tyre runners, Bruno and Monerato on the medium compound tyre. So all in all, that is 6 hot tyre runners and 1 soft tyre, while everybody else on a set of mediums. And at the start, it's going to be a thing we're going to have to watch out for. A race start around Monza is going to be chaotic, and it indeed is always chaotic, especially turn 1 could possibly go wrong or right for drivers at this moment of the race. and it could be anything. It could be turning anything right here in this moment, and it's time how this is going to pan out. While the top 2 and the top 5, in fact, have just stopped on the grid, and it is for the final cars to lead up to the grid and for the race to start there as Raichu moving around the circuit, and time to go racing right here for the Italian Grand Prix. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 red lights here in the Italian Grand Prix, and we go racing at Monza. It's a decent start from Michael. It's a decent start from Oliver as well, while Meadows jumped up. These are the starters. It's going to be interesting to see how it pans out. Well, there's cars at the back, and this could get exciting and chaotic as Devin runs a little bit wide. He's going to try and come back on the second, and there is chaos happening already at the back, while drivers are going to be are pretty much going to be getting out of it nice and easy, while Tryron finds himself back in P17. So he's lost up a couple of places at that start. Even though he started at the very back, he has not managed to gain any at the start of it. I think he would be the best man to know that he will not be gaining at the start of it, and possibly have the weight on that. And surely Midu, starting on that soft compound tire, has gained from it and has really made the most of it, while Dees is now going to be coming back at him, while X in that Williams seems to be spun out in between the two Lasmos, while that's Dees on the exit of the Ascari within 4/10 of the car in front. Obviously DRS will get enabled at the end of this lap into lap 2, but not on the main straight this time. That's going to be Conabel and Freddy in P7 and 8, who's going to be the driver coming out on top into Parabolica. Or meanwhile, the Alpine right behind them is there as well. That's going to be Killer around the outside, but that was going to be Freddy get past the Killer, and then that's going to be Conabel as well. Meanwhile, the Alpine driver narrowly went into the pit wall while trying to avoid drivers, and there is almost 3 wide at the back. It's going to be Raichu, it's going to be Ryan, while there's position switches at the back. At the front of the field, this is something we're watching at the back of the field in this midfield pack for final couple of points positions. There's drivers making contact, and there's going to be the real bull of Raichu nearly going and backwards and losing those couple of positions, while Tyron's in P15 at the moment, Edward in P10 so far. Ryan gets past Edward. There's going to be drivers, and Dees has lost out, and there's a yellow flag at this part of the circuit, and Dees has lost out there with Devin in P4 and Ian in P5. Meter's got a penalty already to his name, and the only driver with a penalty with Devin in P4 so far, right behind Midu on those hard compound tires, despite the soft tire getting a good start on Midu, but that's not going to be the case this time. Into the Ascari they go. This could get exciting right there, while our leader has gained over 1.1 seconds to Oliver there. Meanwhile, one of the drivers have retired at the start, the beginning of the... They're going to be side by side, and Midu's gone past Devin there, and I think that's going to be playing into the benefit of Devin there, as Midu now will possibly and probably by the end of turn 1 is going to have to give up that place. Or will he though, because that DRS on that Ferrari is there though, but is it going to be strong enough for him to get past or for him to make a move? I do not think so, and surely yes, it won't be. And Ollie now being on the same tire has gained a little bit of time on Michael. We're 3 laps in already. Well, that's going to be Midu and Devin side by side. Dees has lost out, but his teammate is fighting at it. They're going to be side by side, wheel to wheel between the two. Into the chicane they go. They'll be wheel to wheel once again. Ian might have the best seat in the show to watch this one right there. And that was the Ferrari just about getting that. And we have update from our live steward team that it's a 10-second time penalty for DJ for an unavoidable collision, in fact, involving multiple cars, and that's them down in P17 with a 10-second time penalty that's going to be applied to their race time at the end of this Grand Prix, and that's time and power to get on. Well, once more, as Devin Scott Meter's been overtaken by Fun Ferrari, he could be on the watch to get overtaken by another, as now Dees is right behind him as well. There's a lot of other drivers
making those moves and making overtakes right there. But how good of the overtakes are there going to be? Meanwhile, we're going to go looking at this one. That's going to be D's now on the inside line into turn 1. And that could get exciting as Prema into the Prema turn 1. D's gets past, switches past Midu and up to P4. So Ferrari surely back in this race now. P3 and 4. For how long though? Because Midu might try and come back on D's. Then narrowly avoids it into the second Varianti. Just avoiding a collision there, as that's a Delaroggio chicane indeed. As that's going to be now Midu get past into the Lesmos, gets past D's there, but the DRS now will be available on the Ferrari. One more time, they're going to be side by side. Is it going to be Midu or D's? He comes out on top as the battle continues up to Diascari, and that's going to be D's up ahead of the Red Bull, while Devon is already pulling away in P3 of these guys, and that's now nice and easy. Meanwhile, we're right here watching the drivers, and that DRS this time would go to the Red Bull unless he slows down, but he obviously will not. It will not be doing that right there. Meanwhile, Tyron is up to P9. He's got the Red Bull behind him as well, but that's not close enough for a move coming up anytime soon. While Midu is now going to be on the worst to get maybe overtaken. He will not, but the driver behind them, Ian, will have the worst to get overtaken by Ryan there. They're nearly will to will, but Ryan does a really good job to avoid any problems or issues. While Tyron, only one car between himself and his teammate in P7, who's with the back up to P4 to P8 there, and that could get excited moving forward, because Tyron, who started at the bottom of this field, already making moves, while Ryan now gets past Ian as well and up to P6 on the same tire, and definitely Midu already has been overtaken by D's, and those soft tires should be coming out, getting out of grip and really losing that grip within a couple of more laps now. So not much will be remaining, while Tyron's getting 6 places as currently in P9. 3 drivers that have made a pit stop in this race are Brando, Edward and DJ. Well, it's going to be time again. Is it going to be D's closer to Midu? No, not this time. Possibly within 1 second, so still DRS to Midu there. But I think Ryan would be ever closer to Midu, and it would rather be a possible try and defend this position than gain one. But there comes the end of Midu on those soft tires at the end of lap 5. After 5 laps on those tires, he's going to come into the pits and get that lap in. Sorry, not that lap in, but obviously that's those tires, and now goes on to a set of hard tires. But I mean, not a bad choice starting on the soft tire. Possibly, I would only think because they started on the soft tire, either you know, they got like they got it completely wrong. They expected others to be on the soft tire, but nobody was, or they simply would have thought that, okay, you know, possible. You can't blame them for that as well at Monza, especially turn 1, which there was nearly collisions as well, but no safety car and stuff. But if there's a safety car, let's say lap 1 or even lap 2 or lap 3, that would be he would have been the best driver in that scenario to get a free pit stop, which obviously in this case he doesn't. But if that had happened, so it was a case of, sure, I've got it, but you know, it's either now or never, or maybe you make it or break it case. Well, Edward now right ahead of Raichu there. Raichu in that Red Bull could potentially be moving forward, and he is really getting closer and closer to Freddy there. Into it's the final parabolica, but Freddy is going to be up top, but I think that's going to be rather on purpose from Raichu to give him the DRS. Well, that's going to be Tyron, who's going to be up to P6 as Ian gets out of the way, and Ryan now will get past these as well. So maybe, just maybe, those soft medium tires are now getting out of grip as well as on that hard tire. In fact, no, Ryan's on the mediums as well. I would have thought that's the tires from D's, but potentially they're on the same compound of tire. Obviously, a lot of tire wear and temperatures could depend, considering what driver has done what in this race so far, but it's all looking okay. Meanwhile, Devin on the hard tires is 2.1 seconds ahead. Could either possibly get caught up or pull away. Meanwhile, Oliver 1.4 seconds behind Michael there. So Michael doing a good job as well, staying over a second ahead of Ollie so far in this race. Is he though? Because almost at the end of this lap 7, he's going to have to weave around this back straight to keep himself ahead, as Dees now gets past Ryan once again, and Dees makes the overtake. And it's done, but it's ever closer between the two drivers. But I doubt Ryan will get past Dees there just to get that DRS, and he will have that DRS, and with that help, that might get Tyrone a bit of a rear wing opening as well. Is that going to be the case though? Because now this is only going to help Tyrone in the case of these guys fighting each other. Ryan will already get past Dees before they even get closer to that DRS activation zone. That's going to allow, as Tyrone now gets the DRS as well, and that Mercedes man who started without a qualifying time on the board is already up to P4. Obviously a lot of drivers getting out of the way, but knowing throughout the season, if you have followed throughout the season, would know that Tyrone certainly has a lot of pretty good tire management skills, which helps him throughout to keep up with all of this, while Tyrone now in P4, 4 tenths, or rather 3 tenths now behind Dees, and that is a nice strategy from the Mercedes drivers on the exit of the second Lesmo. Tyrone, in fact, for a moment I would have thought it was Ryan who let Tyrone pass, but Tyrone lets Ryan pass, so that is interesting. In terms of strategy, maybe Ryan's going to pit this time, or possibly that. Look at that, and look at that game from Tyrone. That DRS game, I would assume so, as he's let Dees get past, and that's a safety car. That is an absolute safety car. This might be the best of times to make a pit stop, as on the exit of the first Lesmo, it looks like Brando has lost the car and becomes our second retirement of the race, and DJ, who just pitted for a set of soft tires, might be in the worst set of situations, but a brilliant and an absolute excellent pit stop for Devin. Goes on to another set of hard tires, possibly, as Tyrone on a set of hards as well, so it's unlikely that they'll go to the end of this race, anybody on these tires pitting now, but they would eventually get a free pit stop, and they certainly have done so. Well, one McLaren at the top of the timings, and that might have been the best possible. We were talking about, let's say, Devin, he's in P3, but Ollie, along with Michael, who just pitted on the previous lap, has helped them come out in P1 and 2. That is an excellent pit stop planning from these guys. And I'm remembering something, if it not, Crashgate 2008. Because it is Brando in the McLaren who's crashed, and it is the McLaren of Michael who's leading. Obviously nothing, not calling out anything, just recalling back on that incident. Obviously you can't really plan something like that in a game, but I mean, you never know. Maybe they can. They're driving in the game, but they're driving on sim setups and strategies, and everything plays out. I mean, whatever, it is planned out brilliantly for Michael, Ollie, and Devin, all three, along with Ryan as well. With Dees in P5, followed by Ian in P6. So Tyrone has actually lost out. That would have possibly been because of a Mercedes two-stop, I'd assume. Not a two-stop, sorry. Yeah, Mercedes double stacking. That would have been the case. As we now move over to lap 10 out of 27. As a couple of drivers are yet to catch up with a safety car, and as soon as they do, there will be a safety car restart out there. So lap 10 out of 27, Michael leads ahead of Oliver with Devin and ahead of Oliver and Devin, along with Ryan and Dees in the top 5. And we're going to be picking up the action as soon as we're green flag racing once again. And look at that, the safety car now comes into the pits. Are the hot tire runners going to be able to get a good restart, or is it going to be Bruno all the way down in P8 on those soft compound tires, a little bit more competitive than those up at the front, because that hard tire, everybody knows, in cold temperatures is undrivable, is unmanageable. But Michaels went for it already early enough. Has Oliver went for it? Although no, he has not. He might get caught by Devin already at start. Well, Ryan in P4 might be getting closer to the Ferrari D's as well, but just not enough, just not close enough. And well done, absolutely well done to the drivers. Try to take care of this, but Devin is ever closer to Ollie ahead. And this could get exciting, because already on lap 12 the safety car restart is happening, and 3-second time penalty to even at the front of the field. And the soft tire runner Bruno, we would have thought, but potentially would gain a couple of places at the race start, has lost out a few, and that is them with only with a P10 that they started in P8. That safety car restart, and that's going to be killer. He goes absolutely wide and narrowly takes a driver out on the exit of the Lesmo there. First Lesmo, and the second one is nearly going to take them out as well. So Cole Hart possibly. Yep, that'll be hot tires. That'll be either cold tires. I mean, could be cold considering a safety car restart has just now happened, and 7/10 the gap between the top two already. And look at that, weaving on the straight is Michael to avoid a slipstream, avoid a potential tow giving to the RB of special there, as DRS now gets enabled. So 3-second time penalties to Evil D's Freddie Midu, along with Killer Conabel and Monirato, who has 10 seconds with DJ, 3 seconds in the game, and 10 seconds from our live stewarding team. That's going to be cased as now. This could get exciting, as Ryan could be getting closer to the Ferrari D's, or in fact now he's getting closer to the Ferrari of Devin right there, and Devin could be in a bit of trouble despite getting closer to Ollie. He's unable to get past, and now that the tables could turn right here, as we're nearly halfway distance in this Grand Prix. One more stop's possible, one for all of these drivers, so a possible 2-stop strategy, which obviously would have been the case, as one safety car has been there. And Michael still 6/10 ahead of Ollie Oliver there, but is he going to be able to pull out a special move? Is special in that RB going to be able to challenge the McLaren, the sole McLaren running in this session? One of their own teammate calls a safety car, help these two drivers pit under it, or in fact pit before it, and that would allow them to move away. Their special now gets the fastest lap, and that explains it, as Ryan now gets the overtake done on Devin, as well as Ollie's going to send it on the inside line. This could get exciting. This could have been quite interesting, as it's all moving around. The drivers are lagging, and I think it's the lobby, and definitely the lobby has had issues, and that possibly would have been the reason of how we saw especially getting closer to the McLaren as well. He might have been never closer, and drivers are moving, and they're absolutely lagging right here, and that's possibly the worst thing to happen when you're racing as well. Is Ryan going to send it on the inside of Devin? Not this time, as Dees has lost out a couple of seconds behind those guys in front. Meanwhile, now Raichu behind the Ferrari D's with that DRS opening, as Ryan's going to get past the Ferrari already, and definitely Devin and Ryan are doing a pretty good job. Well, Tyron is down in P8 as very wide runs Ian, and that's going to allow Tyron to get past, and Killer has now retired out of this session. No safety car this time, and Tyron, I mean, we've seen him do 1-stops, and the way he's simply staying behind, hasn't gained a couple of places, so possibly just doing that tire management, and if he's able to do that, we could potentially see him do a 1-stop, which we've seen him magically do throughout the season so far many times, so it could possibly be the reason he is doing that, as Tyron is not yet close to be making a move as D sends it on the inside line to Raichu. This could get side-by-side action between the two. Wheel to wheel as D just gets past Raichu. And the overtake has been done, while there might be Ian who comes back at him. Ian made a huge mistake, and interestingly, Ian lost out to Tyron as well, because Ian made a huge mistake. While Ryan and Raichu and Dees are going side by side. Dees goes a little bit wide, comes back on the second. Raichu gets past, and Tyron, definitely the thing I was saying about Tyron. Tyron is surely just doing some tire management and possibly just saving those tires for himself to go to the end of it. And let's see, I think somebody has gotten a qualifying ban for next race for quitting on track without due cause. That could be exciting, and that could be killer. I believe they simply retired out on let's say retired on the track. Maybe it was probably lucky enough there was no safety car, otherwise it could have been horrible. As Devon's now closer to Oliver, this could get exciting right there with Ryan as well. It's almost about 3 wide or 2 wide right here, with Tyron on the worst to get past D's. Tyron's not going to hold back no more. This might be the time, with about 11 laps remaining after this one in this Grand Prix. Lap 16 out of 21 so far, and the racing is on. The racing is all on here in this one. Tyron around the outside into Curva Grande before the Delaroggio chicane. Gets past D's round the outside. There might be Ian who comes round the inside of D's as well. This side by side, D's was gusted for a second and gains that place, or at least keeps it to himself. But that is a brilliant one between the two drivers, as a lot of battles, a lot of competitive battles from all of these drivers, but it wasn't to be so far this time, as now these guys are again going at it. They pretty much have been at it since the start of this race. Really haven't backed out at all, and I think it's been a pretty good race, as Oliver, after laps and laps of racing, loses out to Ryan. Or does he though? Around the outside is Ryan. They're going to be side by side, and it is time. Oliver comes into the pits, and as I said, a possible 2-stop strategy would have been, which would have always been the case, it's going to be now. So 1 lap separating the two drivers. Michael still in the lead, 3.1 seconds, so possibly Oliver just losing out on time and goes on to another set of hard tires, which should possibly see him go to the end of this Grand Prix, and that's going to be it. But Ollie, remember, he qualified in P2, so a podium finish is going to be on the line if all things go well, but only if they're able to drive at speed, strategy, and everything combined. Well, Raichu, and that's going to be Tyron making a mistake, I believe. Or is it going to be Ryan, because one of the Mercedes made a big mistake running wide. Unless I saw some gravel while going on board with Tyron, so maybe he ran a little bit wide and came back out on the circuit. That possibly would have been the only reason, I think so. Meanwhile, Raichu gets a 3-second time penalty as well, as almost half of the grid now has a time penalty right here. Tyron's currently in P4. There's drivers to pit in this race, as Connabel is into the pits now to get off those soft compound tires, as Freddy has retired. And has he crashed out? Yes, he has. And that's going to be a safety car. And once again, Ollie pitted before the safety car, but this time I wonder if that's going to go against them or not, because it might be the worst timing for Michael, so we might not have a winner from anybody in the top 2 in this race. Unless Special could gain a couple of places and have himself a chance of exiting out ahead of everybody and ahead of Ryan as well. While Ryan is going to have to pit. Where does Ollie come out? And he comes out in P5. Rather gets past Tyron as well. So in P4. And all 3 drivers, in fact, just Devon in P2. While Michael and Ryan, the 2 drivers, a safety car came only after they got past the pit entry, and the second safety car is on, with drivers now ready for their pit stop rounds, and I wonder if Tyrant's pitted. Yes, he has as well, and went to another set of soft compound tires. So it's all going to be the case of now. And it's time, I think, should be pitting, and no, he's not going to pit, so that's exciting to see from Michael. Maybe an attempt to go to the end of this race on the same tyre. That's going to be quite difficult to do, and we've been disconnected. Great. That is great. I hope we'll be able to join the stream. Yep, the stream's good, and that is a servers that have been horrible pretty much throughout, even before we were able to, before we were about to start. They were quite horrible, so now it's only time. It's pretty much we're going to be right. We're going to be starting within a couple of moments once again, because that's seems the case so far. And we're going to just leave this one if we could as quickly as possible, and then join another session, not another one, but obviously the same one, which I'm hoping I have a couple of platform friends, so we should be able to join as quickly as possible. A final safety car, we'd hope so, before the end of this race, and race that looked to be quite a season that has been looked quite dominant as and one of the drivers, if Arsuit could let me know in the comments in that here radio who that is on track, receives a 10-second time penalty for a dangerous dive bomb on turn 1, damaging multiple cars. That could be interesting if we run. If first we need to check. I'm not interested in that, please. We're gonna watch out if we do have any invites from any of the drivers. No, we don't right here. So we're gonna join it this way. Classic F1 way, and we should be able to join. Hope so. And that's going to be Devin, our Ferrari driver. He's at a really competitive weekend here in that Ferrari tonight. So it's all about what we are going to be getting through right there. As there we go. Yep, error. We're going to hope that there's not many of those errors in that case. And a reminder of the race, because this could get horrible, as we've simply been disconnected, and a couple of other drivers, I believe. I'm not sure though, but before the start of the session, there were quite a few of them who were starting, and finally we are catching to the session and our later. So that is Connibel. That is Connibel for a 10-second time penalty for receives a 10-second time penalty for dangerous driving and purposely driving slow. Purposely driving slowly, forcing leaders to slow, and narrowly coming to a stop multiple times under the safety car. So that is going to be somewhat something we're going to have to watch out for. Connibel, who already has some sort of a time penalty, and that penalty is over 16 seconds, at 10 seconds to that, so 26 seconds in times, and Killer receives a qualifying ban for the next race for quitting on track for a due cause. Obviously, if he crashed out on track, maybe not, but obviously not the case this time. As far as now things are looking, this could get exciting in the remainder of this race. The safety car still staying out as Michael narrowly spinning around, and he is pitted. Despite that, he's in P1, so I wonder if there comes another safety car after the previous one went out, because Michael, remember, stayed out, or maybe simply because we got disconnected, we didn't see them pitting. So now Ollie in P3 with Ryan in P4, Tyron in P5. All those guys on the set of hard tyres, while Michael and Devon on the set of mediums, along with Raichu, Dees, Edward, DJ, and Connabel on the set of mediums, along with Bruno and Monerato on the set of soft tyres. With 5 drivers in this one: Ollie, Oliver, Ryan, Tyron, along with Ian and Midu on the set of hard compound tires. So that's about all we're gonna have this one so far. Pretty much, hopefully before the end of hopefully this one's gonna be the final safety car before the end of this race, and possibly we're going to be on, as that's a lagging then from our driver, who for a moment would have thought they're nearly going to be into the wall there, but eventually that wasn't the case, as that was simply not exaggerated, but that was simply the game acting weird, and simply that's why. But look at that, safety car now in this lap. FIA safety car should be coming in this lap, and it indeed is coming in this lap, as it is time for Michael to lead us through a safety car restart for the second time in this race. Michael in P1 has went out for it already. Devin goes right after as well, but is he going to be close enough? And Special has a brilliant exit restart as well. Devin might be on the way to get past Michael. Michael goes defensive on the inside line. Devin sends it on the inside for a moment. As Ollie goes quite wide, and that's going to make him lose a bit of places, or maybe not, as Ryan's going to come around the outside. They could go side by side. It is all happening along with the lag connection things for drivers and the servers themselves. It is all happening right here as Ryan loses out to Raichu. No, in fact, Tyron loses out to Raichu then between these guys, while Ollie's still in P3 with only 2/10 the gap behind Ryan. And that safety car, that same bug that stays around, and that safety car on bug has eventually decided to continue from F1 24, which disappeared a couple of times on this game, but again, it doesn't do any more. Say safety car, but it is not there, and it's a bug that was back on F1 24, and it still has been the case, while Ryan currently in P4 might have a way to get past Oliver there. Oliver's going to try and defend. Is he going to let him get past? Not this time. And that safety car, that DRS not being available, might not be easy for Ryan to get past, or might not be one of the best chances for him to be there. I mean, there's a couple of drivers for overtakes moving forward, and that's going to be Edward and DJ there. These guys are going to be side by side, wheel to wheel between the two, while Midu in front of them, and that's going to be Edward. He gets past Midu and gets past DJ, as Midu stays ahead of DJ and loses out. Edward runs a little bit wide, and after an overtake, making his own mistake, going to lose out all that progress, while Midu having to fight with DJ in that Alpine. Red Bull versus Alpine there. They're going to be wheel to wheel into the Delaroggio chicane, and Midu's pushed wide. But no, in fact, Midu, it had gravel on his tires, but Midu comes back and overtakes. So unless he let him get past, that would be a bit of a weird of a thing to see. Well, 2/10 again, as Special is now closer to Devon as they nearly crash out and make contact with Ryan, who's now gained up on the RB as well, and that could get exciting between these drivers so far in these remaining laps. Well, as lap 23 out of 27, Special goes on the inside line of Devon. They're going to be side by side, and that might allow Ryan and Oliver has went straight into the wall, and a proper and an absolute chance to finish on the podium for Ollie. Could even fight for a win at some point in this race. Has put himself in the wall, just lost it while trying to go side by side onto the Parabolica, and is now down in P8. Goes from bad to worst. Not from bad to worst, rather goes just worst, all the way from good to worst at this point. And that's the case of removing the sugar and being a sugar-free Red Bull, and that promotes the sugar Red Bull into P2. That's right, you in P2 there. That is absolutely exciting. While Devon now back in P3 as well. So Devon has lost a place as well. With Tyrone, who's now in P4, has a possible chance to win. With Michael 3.1 seconds ahead. But Kenny, though, because that's going to be quite a bit of a question to be answered, as Devon now gets ahead of Raichu. So it's all about is, and so many drivers have penalties. Every single driver has penalties, as Tyrone now could be getting side by side. It's 3 wide between the drivers. Tyrone in P3 so far. In P5 in fact he was going to be, well, he's going to be side by side. Devon, Raichu and Tyrone all going at it. Tyrone goes round the outside of Raichu, and Tyrone now gets past Devon as well. And with that, 3-second time penalty to Michael. It shouldn't take long, and Tyrone, the man who decided to start at the very bottom of it, could possibly get it as Devon runs over the curbs, I believe. He's going to have to give up those places, and it's all happening in these moments as Ryan is ghosted, I believe, between the Ferrari and D's. D's has had a couple of issues trying to be ghosted between these drivers, but well done to everybody. Well, these within 3/10 once more, and in these remaining 3 laps, including this one, our leader is Slink 2.9 seconds ahead, but remember, they won't be really smiling at the end of it, as they've got a 3-second time penalty. So it's all about how they're going to be managing this, with Tyrone speed to Tyrone right behind them. 7-lap old hards versus 6-lap old mediums. It's definitely going to go towards the hard driver's way, hard compound driver's way, for that to work. Well, Ian now only 500ths of a second against Raichu. They're going to be side by side once more, wheel to wheel between the two. Who's going to be the driver coming out on top? Ollie's lost out. He's currently in P8. Ian's going to go for and have a move side by side with Raichu into the Parabolica. They go. They got D's in P5. They've got a possible opportunity. While Devon now loses to Ryan as well, and after a Mercedes drivers fighting at the bottom, it's a Mercedes 2-3, which could possibly go a Mercedes 1-3 or even a 1-2 depending on the penalties, as lap 26 has now begun. Michael will be pushing all the way to try and finish 3 seconds ahead of Tyrone, but maybe not, as Tyrone has also gained 2.4 seconds to his teammate, and every single driver has a penalty from P1 to P12, with Bruno, Monirato and the 2 Mercedes drivers who do not have a penalty right there. I don't think that's pretty much going to be the case. Remember, a couple of drivers receiving extra penalties as well. Well, Michael still running there. 2.7 seconds. He's just going to hope and probably just wish he didn't have a penalty there, as Devon and Ryan fought into the Ascari side by side, narrowly losing out one or the other driver, but well done to them, and brilliant from them and that's a penalty for Davey. So Devon's got a 10-second time penalty for ramming Oliver and causing him to spin. So now we know the how and why Oliver spun out and spun round for a reason there. And this could get 3 wide between the Ferraris and the Mercedes, as D's goes straight away and is going to have to take It's going to have to take action, as D's now got a 10-second time penalty. Well, Devon now has 23 seconds, so Devon's position is up for threat as well, as D's has retired from the session. This straight on the track, so not sure how the driver, I'll just do it, are going to possibly react on that, but they have done so. Meanwhile, Tyrone now only 1.9 seconds to Michael, and geez, only if there was only one more lap, even if there was no penalty to Michael, Tyrone would have almost had that, while still beating Tyrone on the track. It takes it all, with only 3% and 1% battery remaining for both the drivers in the top 2. It's going to be the case. And it'll be the McLaren of Michael coming over the line and finishing first here in Monza. But it's going to be Tyrone who comes over and wins the Italian Grand Prix. There's competitive drivers at the back. Ryan in P3 with Raichu in P4, followed by Ian in P5 and Oliver in P6. That's going to be nice one. Mido in P7 with Devon all the way losing positions. Edwards gets a brilliant P8 as well. What about Devon, who's got a P9? What about DJ, has got himself a couple of penalties, while we have 5 drivers retired in this one, as Bruno now should be the last couple of drivers with a penalty. Conabel, remember, has a 10-second time penalty, as well as Monerato, the only remaining driver who is yet to come over the line and take the checkered flag in this race so far. Right then, no points for Ferrari then, I'd assume. With depending on how much penalties does DJ have, it's about. And yep, there goes it. Same as it was for one of the other drivers, which was Killa, who received a qualifying ban, and Dees receives a qualifying ban as well for the next race for quitting on track without due cause, and he possibly had to continue, and he's going to have to get a qualifying ban as well. So all sorts of that, while a P12 finish for Monerato as he joined us on track for Monza tonight. For thanks to them as well. Just racing around is a great and competitive experience in itself. Those are your podium celebrations. Do whatever you want, but you just can never stop Tyrone whatsoever on the circuit, as he wins ahead of Evil in P2, who got the fastest lap, with Ryan in P3, a Mercedes double podium. Ian in P4, an absolute majestic performance, and despite losing a couple of places because of getting rammed into, Oliver in P5 as well, special Mido in P6 with Edward in P7. 9 seconds of penalties to DJs as well, and adding 10 more seconds. I believe Devon's going to be fine despite having 23 seconds in penalties, because 32 seconds is the gap to DJ, while he himself has penalties as well. Well, Bruno got that P10, followed by Monerato in P12. Then it was Raichu, Dees, Freddy, Killa, Brendo, and X all retiring out of it, and not really finishing in this race. 5 retirements, and those are going to be your names. So Raichu might have finished. Raichu might not have retired, because I believe there was 5 retirements before the end of it. So that's going to be the end of it then, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you all watching had enjoyed it, and it was all what it gets as or also Conabel, I believe, has a penalty as well. But that's going to be the end of it, ladies and gentlemen, as we are now at the end of this Grand Prix here at Monza. So that's going to be all from us here at New Age F1. It was myself, Zabi, bringing you guys all the action